Welcome back to Spoiler Free Wrestling, everyone. And Kenny Omega doesn't give out too many media interviews these days. Recently, however, the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion took to Twitter for a Q&A with his followers. Here are the highlights of that session. Omega started off the Twitter Q&A by tweeting out the following message. He said, "I rarely speak outside of shows or use social media, but I'll open the floodgates and answer some non-troll questions for the next 20 minutes or so. If there's something you are curious about, have at it. Please be polite and or kind or you'll be promptly blocked," Omega tweeted. So video game fans will be happy to know that news concerning a possible AEW video game is hopefully coming soon. It was one of the first questions that Omega answered, and you can see here on your screen, when someone asked video game news, Kenny Omega said, "Coming hopefully soon." Omega had the following to say as well regarding the two-night Wrestle Kingdom event from the Tokyo Dome this year. Omega said, "It was fun to have two incredibly large-scale shows to look forward to back-to-back." Omega was also asked about Riho and the AEW women's division. User on Twitter said, "Who do you consider to be the face of the women's division?" Omega responded, "Still developing the face of the division, but Riho's proven to be an inspiration to many. Shida is the complete package, and Chris Statlander has shown that she has the tools to take the division to another level." Omega was also asked about taking a smaller role in AEW, and this is common fan criticism about the Elite losing many of their matches in AEW, and so Omega was asked, "Do you feel like your dynamic has changed since leaving Japan? Did you purposely take a step back to let others shine? I feel like you're a little lost in the mix at times and more of an attraction, whereas you were the talk of the town in NJPW." Omega responded, "In a perfect world, I want every one of us to be talks of the town. I don't mind taking a smaller role to achieve that. You'll still see me do what I do best on occasion, though, more and more as time goes by." Now, Omega would make comments regarding the negativity of fans, the negativity from fans that he often sees online. He would comment on that multiple times throughout the Twitter Q&A, and he did so here when a fan asked him what he thinks of the criticisms of AEW's women's division. Omega responded, "Lately, most criticisms, in quotes, I read are incredibly ignorant, depressing the amount of fans that have absolutely no class. That being said, I do try to sift through those to get to the actual constructive criticism." Omega was also asked about a possible match with Impact Wrestling's Tessa Blanchard, and the user on Twitter said, "Would you ever consider having a match with Tessa Blanchard? And if so, what stipulation would be put in place for the match?" All Omega would offer was, "She's great. I think the match would rock." And Omega again addressed the common criticism from fans that he's taken a backseat since arriving in AEW. A user on Twitter said, "Why have you taken a backseat in AEW while you were the hottest star in Japan?" Omega said, "I lived out mostly all of my dreams during the last run I had, and now a big part of my current dream is seeing a new generation thrive." Omega was also asked about possibly wrestling AJ Styles one day. User on Twitter said, "AJ is close to retiring. Any chance the dream match could happen between you both?" And all Omega would respond with was, "It would take one phone call." Omega was also asked about who from New Japan he would like to face. The user on Twitter said, "Do you want to see AEW and NJPW have a working relationship? And if so, who would you like to face from New Japan that you haven't faced yet?" Omega said Takagi in reference to Shingo Takagi. Omega was asked, "What are some things that you may feel you haven't accomplished as a wrestler and as a person?" Omega responded with, "My goal was unity, But strangely, my toughest adversary hasn't been office bigwigs or fellow performers. And here's where Omega takes another shot at negative fans. He said, "It's fans that prefer hostility in the world and want to both love and hate something equally." Omega was also asked about possible dream matches, and he said, "Kurt Angle, Mankind, Kenta Kobashi. It's a list that would get pretty long." And again, Omega made a comment about negative feedback from fans online, or just negative attitudes from fans online. And a fan said, "Don't have a question, just want to say I appreciate you answering the fans' questions despite the legions of rude idiots on Twitter. It must be a lot to tolerate. Thanks, Kenny." And Omega would say, "It's eye-opening, that's for sure. Thank you." And this is again, a common thing. We've seen the Young Bucks leave Twitter recently, possibly due to the negativity that comes from fans on social media. So those were the highlights from Kenny Omega's Q&A. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new news or reports from Spoiler Free Wrestling.